Welcome to the commentary version of my walkthrough of my Honest Project game. The character starts off in a town, is approached by the guard to just give you a little bit of foreshadowing on what's coming up. And as we look upon the town, there are lots of areas that are gated off that we can't access yet. The way to go is pretty clear up here. This just helps the player get the right direction, but we'll see what these people say anyway. This guy basically just tells you to come back later, and this person will tell you that there's an obstacle in the way and we can't get through yet. So if we go this way, the only way we can. Again, more areas here. You can't get in these houses because these big guys are in the way. Don't fancy fighting him. This guy's in the way here. This is reference to a quest that you'll have to do later. We've got this guy here and this huge looking building with a red ring around it. Now the red ring means that this is the active building that you can do right now. If we talk to this guard, he will make way to the first dungeon. And so you might have noticed we've got a nice little spectral tiger on our back. And he's going to talk to us. He's basically the dungeon guide. So this explains that each dungeon will have 3 pieces of loot that you can find, and this one here is basically, it's not going to be so friendly as to just give you one for free, so that one was fake, but now at least we know what to do. And we've got these coins as well, which you can see the currency goes up. We'll can't use the currency yet, but that will be explained. You also have 3 gems that you can collect, and you'll get a big bonus if you collect them all. And we also have a big sword that we can use. This in there, we can just press click. These 2 enemies have formed together. Take them down. Now we have two ways here that are clearly blocked off. We can't go there yet, and this way here is quite easy. The dungeon guy is giving us some very helpful hints as we progress, just to keep the player sort of updated as to what they can do. These will save your progress as we jump across here. We get to this cool looking statue with the same orb that we saw outside the dungeon. This just basically marks the place where you get your new special power. So, as in keeping with the theme of this dungeon, you get the power of Mars. Now we can drop down to the bottom. So we press tab to open our menu, and we can select which spell we want to use, and then press R to cast. We have a nice web here. We're going to fire it at this. And it's going to burn the web away. And we press E to climb the magic vines. There we go. So we get all the way back up. Now we can head back through here and carry on with the dungeon, but we're going to go this way. It's clearly marked as something that we can do now. Now we can climb the ledges as well as climbing ladders. And up here you'll see another piece of dungeon loot. So we would have needed to come up this way because collecting the 3 gems isn't a requirement in the dungeon, but collecting the eggs and the other dungeon loot that you'll find is a requirement. And I don't fancy coming back to get it. So here we're back in the room where we started. There are torches here that we're going to light up, because obviously we couldn't do this before, and a lovely reward, we get some more coins. There we go. We still can't go through this main door here, but what we can do is go through here, where the enemy is skulking around. So we need our sword ready. I'm going to strike him. There we go. We put our sword away. And head up to this moon altar. Now with moon altars, they let us shrink down to a very small size. So we can head through small areas like this. And pick up this key. Obviously it's much bigger, and we're just going to pick up this currency as well. Because why not? Now we can either head at this one or this one, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to head at this one. As we drop down, you see the small rat that's almost our size actually now that we're small, and he's basically saying don't let his brothers see you. Now you'll understand what that means in a minute. That's just a little bit of foreshadowing, because when you do use the moon otters it's not always going to be that easy. And now we can open the door with the key, and in front of us is another web, so we need to take that down like so. There we go. Now we can head down the stairs here, or we can head over to here. Now there's two different ways, and I mean, coming in here in a game you may not necessarily know which way to take. Usually you show that by lighting, which I've done, and I've also put a save point here, so the player's kind of drawn straight away over to the save point, so they'll come here first. This room is purely optional. We cannot jump on this web, so we're going to have to make our way across extremely carefully and hope we do not fall down. Okay. It's quite a tight squeeze, but we're nearly there. There we go. Pick up this money. In there is a green gem. That'll be our second gem of the Mars dungeon. There we go. And nobody really wants to do that puzzle again, so there's a nice bit here that we can climb on the walls to get us straight back to where we were. And now we can go downstairs. And light this one torch. And light the next torch. I do apologise if you hear me constantly clicking, it's a very old StarCraft 2 habit that I have not kicked. Even though I haven't played the game for a long time. And there's the third torch, and it opens up this door. Beautiful. Now we can shrink down here and go through this hole. There's a save point here, and the second egg, and coming towards us we have what the rat talked about. There's a little little rat AI character that chases you around, and if you're caught on its line of sight, you'll or caught in its little red beam, you will be taken back to the save point. So here we have the Dungeon Guardian, and he's not going to let us pass because we haven't got all of his eggs, and that's what he wants. So we're going to have to find his eggs. There are lots of big enemies in here that we don't really want to face just yet, so we're just going to have to wait for them to pass, just so they don't interact with us, because through here, like that. And we'll just pretend that never happened. Take that enemy down. Whoa, look at stuff. So we get that piece of dungeon loot, and now we can go back through. Yeah, there's no way I would have been able to get back through there, so now we'll have all of the dungeon loot for them. There you go. So it just essentially shows what the objectives are to do in each dungeon. Basically, there's always a dungeon guardian. There are 3 pieces of loot that you must find. You've got to get through the dungeon, get the new power, and that's the kind of blueprint for all my levels. And hopefully don't get stuck in walls like we just did. So as we burn through this one final web, there we go. And right here we have the Mars medallion, and that is a medallion that will show proof of us taking down that dungeon, and obviously we have the power. And there we go, so that's the Mars dungeon complete. We'll be taken back to the town, and things are slightly different here. We have the guy who's now telling us to come to the east part of town. This is the guy who was blocking the way in before, and he's come to talk to us to tell us that now we can go through. And with these dungeons now, the red ring is gone from the top, and we cannot enter this dungeon again. I put the restriction on the dungeon, being able to re-go into a dungeon, because otherwise, well, it'll make sense in about 5 seconds. I will go back and talk to these guys in a minute, but if you see here, this is where you buy your upgrades from, and this is the cost of each upgrade. So if we talk to this guy here again, we have stat boosts and stuff. So if I'd have not put the restriction on that level, then you'd been able to just infinitely farm all the money you want, and that's not how I want the game to be played. And these upgrades here and these things that you buy here are just the first upgrades that you buy. There is another upgrade place further on in the game that I haven't developed yet. So this guy here is basically welcoming you, telling you what you can do in a nutshell. And this guy here will give you a tutorial as to any ability that you might want to buy. So if I decide I want to learn more about dash, he'll tell you how you use it. And then we can talk to him again. If I want to know about glide, he'll tell us about it. So very, very useful. For now, because I don't want to interfere with too much, I'm going to buy one of each. And we'll get the hover ability, because that is incredibly useful. So obviously I've covered this in all the other videos, but I'll just do it here. The hover ability will extend your jump, so instead of just doing one jump, you stay airborne for a slightly longer time. Not too much longer, but slightly longer after each jump. It just means that whatever you buy from these places, there's a glide, which basically means that you can jump for a very long period of time, but obviously the visuals are slightly different. The hero's sword is a purely cosmetic thing. You get a much cooler sword. And the dash, it's a dash. So we're going to enter the Earth dungeon now. So you can see there's a lovely green ring above the dungeon that we can go into. Here we are in the nice wooden dungeon this time, and we're going to walk across this nice bridge, and the dungeon guardian has appeared, and he's very, very annoyed. He thinks we're an enemy, he thinks we're an invader, so he's crushed the bridge and we've been dropped down to the bottom of the dungeon. So we're going to carry on through now, and we've been told to not really use our fire ability on the wood, because it will set it on fire. So the dungeon guardian is not the dungeon guardian. The statue is talking to us and telling us where we are. So we can set fire to this web. None of the wood caught fire, which is very good. We have some coins here, and we have a coin here too. Now there are two paths here with leaves. These leaves are going to sink into the water, so we need to jump pretty quickly. As you can see, the sort of outside bit over there is very well lit, and we can go this way. And see what the hover ability does is basically give you a lot more, it makes those things a lot more forgiving. There's another coin there. We'll get that. As we head down here in this nice outside bit, I thought this gave a nice sort of break in the pacing of this dungeon, because I didn't want these dungeons to just be inside, inside, inside. There are a couple of other outside bits coming up. Dungeon Guardian says it looks like the same torch from the other guardian. It's not quite the same torch, but it will do a very similar thing. This is kind of a funny part in the game, because we've been told not to set fire to things, but now we're going to have to set fire to things, because there's no way to progress otherwise. So as we set fire to this, it's going to burn up and burn a hole in the top of the room, which is going to make the water from upstairs flow down, and the leaves will naturally drop down as well. So we're going to jump and jump into there. And the Dungeon Guardian just basically explained what happens, because I'm not going to be talking to the person playing this game. And then we can... Oh, I missed that one. Okay. But for some reason my hover ability didn't work then when I wanted it to. No, it didn't work again. How strange. Let me try it here. It works spikes there. I must have not jumped at the edge and just slipped off or something, so I couldn't jump mid-air. And we've made the statue. And it's going to give us our next ability. There we go. You've got the Earth Planet Power. I'll explain what this does in a minute. But we're going to just go and get those. I haven't played this game for a couple of weeks as I took a little bit of time off for, well, reasons. So we're going to explain what this ability does now. So we can select it as we have done the other one, and we're going to see this nice little green light pointing us in the direction of these sticks on the ground. We can use this nice ability. What it's going to do is it's going to turn things that were living, that are now dead, into sort of things that can function again. In this case, we get a nice mushroom that can bounce us up to the top area here. There will be other functionalities of this ability, so we will find one out in a minute. And here's a nice golden leaf. Obviously, you might not be sure what this golden leaf does yet, but it's as you can see on the left-hand side, it's dungeon leaf. So what we're going to do now is this dead stump here, you know, bringing dead things back to life. So we do that here, and the forest, as you can see outside, and the dungeon has been restored. And when we got the planet power earlier, it did do some restoration to the dungeon, because the idea of this dungeon is restoring it to how it once was. So getting the trees and stuff to grow back, and obviously this water and leaves are now back because of that. So we can move on down here. There we go. Climb these leaves here. I do apologise if I am. It seems like I am waffling a little bit with these dungeons, but I'm just trying to explain all the thoughts and stuff that I've put into it, and all the themes and stuff. So we're going to encounter our first moon altar of the dungeon. We're going to go through here, and we're going to watch out because there are 2 rats over there. Now there are 2 coins here. Well, the rats are on the other side of the room, so we've got time. And here comes one now. So let's run very quickly. This one here is going to be, oh dear. Okay. Jump up and get that before they come in. I really like how it does it on the wood. The wood just gets gradually redder and redder as they close in. Now what we have here is another outside bit. As I said earlier, there'll be other bits. And there are these pendulums that are swinging from side to side. With this, it may seem quite random, but I was quite inspired by one of the Final Fantasy games I played. In one of the tree dungeons that you go in on, that it has these that has this weird pendulum boss, and it's one of my favourite Final Fantasy games, so that's where I got the idea to put these in this dungeon. So as we go past the last one there, we've got a moon otter here. We can grow big. We can just go through there, but we won't have gotten all the dungeon loot, so we've got to make sure we do that. There's a coin there, and the last leaf is there, so we've got to go back slightly and dodge that. And we have another group of sticks here we can use the earth ability on. There we go, create us another mushroom. We can jump up and then get the final gem as well. So that's 3 out of 3 for dungeon loot and 3 out of 3 for the gems. So press 1 to shrink and go back shrinking, and then we can go down this little tunnel. Whoosh. Okay, so now we've got another, well, not another because it's a different one. It's a log. If we jump on here, you know, it's all about restoring dead things to life. So I'm going to use this, and it's going to make this stump grow into a giant tree that's going to take us up, and the part that we're on will take us back to the start of the dungeon where we fell down initially. So we can jump across, and I'm going to talk to this guy who's calmed down quite a lot now that his forest has been healed. you know how these trees get. And we've also got some leaves for him, which is going to be very good because he's going to disappear, and that'll mean that we can go forward and get the medallion. So this dungeon has been completed. Now this is going to be slightly different now. I have 2 more dungeons to show you. First of all, I'm going to go and get my upgrades. I'm going to get a dash this time just to show you what it looks like. Talk to this guy, we'll get more lives and a little bit more speed. Don't think we'll increase the jump for now because I want to see if I can get that hero sword just to show you. I might not be able to show you that one. As I say, like obviously you buy these early ones, you're probably not going to afford glide right away unless you save for it, but so there are dungeons over there that I haven't built yet just because I couldn't cram that all into this one project, but you will sort of get enough to be able to come back and get it and afford the new stuff over there, so you don't have to get it right now, and the glide is pretty overpowered. Anyway, so as you can see, we can now move forward because the cart has been cleared. Didn't clear their wheels, but you know, can't complain. And we have a nice guard here who we're going to talk to. Now there's a guy up ahead, as you can see. There is no way across to the other side, so there is a chappie over there. You can just about make him out, and he's building a bridge. So we're going to need to find some materials for him. And as our little dungeon friend has just said, there are houses nearby, and this town is, you know, there are a couple of NPCs here and there. There are lots of these ethereal guys, but other than that, there's nobody living here. There's nobody out and about. So we're just going to go in and take the people's resources. Just going to have to remember where the other ones are. I think this one. So this is where the guards come in important because they'll show you what houses you can go in. There we go, that should be enough, I think, to build a bridge. I'll certainly have some left over out of all that. Okay, so we talked to this guy and we've found all the materials needed. Fantastic, so we can pass now. There's the guy building the bridge over there. We can't go this way obviously yet because he has to build the bridge. So we go down here and we've got this nice dungeon up here, nice yellow ring up there. We can tell that this is the dungeon that we want to go and do. So we talk to the dude and he'll let us through, hopefully. There we go. Just skulks away. Now here we are in the next dungeon. This is the Jupiter dungeon, so the theme is all about wind and lightning. As you can see, there are currents running along the room. There's nothing we can really do with this one yet because it's just going up into the wall. We've got a blocked area here and we've got some currents going into here, and it's the only way we can go. So we go into here. We have a conduit here that's totally inactive, but let's follow this, and we've got a nice block here. So we're going to push this block in and it's going to connect this together. It's just a nice simple puzzle to show you like what happens when you get the conduits active. So this conduit is active, which means it's powering something, and obviously you've got these connected to it. So now we can get transported over to here on this little lift. And with this here, there's a nice button. We're going to push the button and it's now green. Get the nice gem as well, and we can also go back. We're going to pick up this fish here, which is one of our dungeon loot, and head back through. This is all about following the lines. And here we go, this area is unlocked again, and we'll get to our statue friend, who is going to give us our power, hopefully. Here we go, get the power of Jupiter. Generates electricity to power up statues and circuits. Here we go. Got a nice life there, that's good. We can jump up. Hey, try out your new ability, says the Dungeon Guardian. Well, you know, why not? So, in the first instance of the game, you sort of have to do it manually and now once you've done it manually, you get the power to do it on the fly. So every time you see a conduit like this, use your ability and it ignites it. Once again, we can see that this current, or this circuit, leads to the elevator, and the elevator is now powered up. So we can go on it, and it'll take us to the next floor. Once again, we have circuits and stuff on the floor, and there's another sort of planet theme. As the Dungeon Guardians just said, it does feel the gravity feels very heavy in here, so we can't actually jump in this room. I'm pressing the space bar and I'm not jumping. So we'll just get the save point, and there's no way for us to go through yet, but we do have this circuit here, and this is a point here where we can use our ability to charge it up, get the extra life, and as you can see, this all powers up to over there. So that has created a little bridge for us to go on, but we can't go across yet because we can't jump. This area has opened up over here, so let's go through. Take the moon altar. There are no rats around here, but this time we're going to have to watch out for the electricity on the floor that is broken little parts. So let's just be very, very careful not to touch it. Press 1 to regrow. There we are. Now let's push this block down. It's just going to fall. And we can just walk straight across. Go down the moon altar again. Here we go. And in here there's going to be currents that are harder to dodge. I have to be very, very careful here not to touch them, because the amount of times I've been playing through this and I've just thought I'd do it really quickly and I touched it. So we're going to regrow here, grab this key because we're definitely going to need that, and there's a nice giant web in front of us, so we're going to use that. There we go, clear the way. As you can see, we have another one of these points here which we can use our ability. I can't remember if I called them charging zones or charging points. There we go. So that's gonna, you can see over there that created us another point, but still we cannot go across, but we can enter this final room. Follow the circuit all the way through. Oh, we got an enemy here. Take it down. Gotta be quick with these. There's another enemy over there, but we also need to go here first, but I don't want it to. There we go. Let's just take him down first. There we go. This is a tricky bit here coming up. As you can see, there's like, whoa. Okay, he's gone past. There we go. There's a blue gem here. Now let's be very careful. It took me a very long time to get these the speed on these rat things correct, because first of all, I had it so fast, and I just sort of trained myself to be able to dodge them. But whenever anyone else came to play the game, they just weren't prepared for it, so I had to turn it down a fair bit. So for me now, it feels like they're sort of semi-slow, but that's because they were one of the first things that I designed in this game, so I've been playing with them for ages. Okay, we get to this final point. Use our ability again. So we've charged this up, and that should be our third point, but it's also had a negative effect. It's charged up these pendulums so that they can swing. And you've got to be very careful here, because one will hit, one will miss. Gotta go. There we go. So as you can see, there's another set of pendulums swinging. Got to be very careful here, because both can hit this time. So go. Oof, very close. And finally, we'll be able to power up the elevator. There we go. And now we have to get back. There we go. We can take the elevator up to the next level, and the gravity is back to normal, so we can jump. Finally, I can jump again, says the main character. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the shaping of this room, just from a design point of view. Obviously, it came up facing this way. We have the save point here, which encourages you to turn, and you can instantly see that this is the objective. That's the Dungeon Guardian, that's the medallion, that's what I need to get through. We turn to the left. This is where I would like the player to go next. This is an optional bit, but I encourage people to do the optional bits. So we're just going to go through here and regrow. Hopefully I do not get hit by any of this, because this section is quite difficult, so I'm just going to stop talking for 2 seconds and I will get back to you. Gotta be careful. This electricity is very dangerous. There we go. Whew. Let's regrow and light these torches that are here. Believe me, it's even harder coming back because you're going on a slight uphill. And that's, so we'll just light this final one and then I'll explain why I didn't put a secret way out. We'll just get those final ones there. So you may have noticed that in a lot of my levels, if you have to do like an optional bit or go somewhere, there'll be a nice easy way back for you where you can just drop down somewhere or whatever. But in this one I decided not to do that because going here it was downhill, but going back it's slightly an upwards slant, so it makes it harder, so it's a slightly different challenge. Obviously this one here is on a flat surface, but the previous one was going on an upward gradient. And we don't need to regrow, so we can just shrink again. There we go. We can go back through. That was just to get more coins as the previous one was, or the one in the first dungeon. Now we need to be bigger for all of this. And now, again, talking from a design point of view, we have two, when we come out of this bit here, we have 2 focus points. One of which is this. We can't go this way. Like, I want the player to experience this. He knows, or she knows, that they can't go this way. And then we turn, and obviously we've got this hole. Can't go down this hole either. And then the only other possible way is facing in the character's line of sight, so you can see where you need to go. So it may look at first like there's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever different directions, but it all makes a completely logical sense from the point of view of just navigation. Take down these enemies. We can climb these lovely stairs up here. Like that. And now we can press this button. If you've been exploring the room properly and you've been looking around, you should have some inkling as to what that has done. We can turn this one off here, and then straight away in front of us we've got another one that we can't do. We do have this path that we can take here, and another one here. Turn it off. There we go. We can go straight through. And we've got a room now with some off, some on. So we just go along the grates that we have turned off. We can jump over to this one. There we go. We've got the final piece of dungeon loot, so all we've got to do is get to the Guardian now. We go into the next room and we have an enormous fan in the middle of the room. We're not going to jump towards that, we're just going to carry on. So in here we have a fan here and a fan there. I'm sure you can work out what's going to happen if I walk when that fan's turning. So we're just going to go now, very quick. You have to be really quick with that, because that fan almost starts up again straight away. You get like something like a 0.8 second room where you can get through, and if you just delay by the tiniest little bit, it'll mess up. Okay, so we turned off this giant fan here. I'm gonna jump over to here and get the gem. Come on, there we go. And turning that off enables us to fall down, and we find what could be the final conduit. But we're not going to take the elevator anywhere because this is the final floor. This is all connected. Take down the enemy. before he gets a chance to turn. Take this one down as well. And here we are, and we can take this nice little shortcut right back to where we were. As you can see, this has all been deactivated now. The dungeon is fully active, and we can go through. We got the gems, we got the loot. I've got to just be nice to this guy so he'll let us through. And he likes to eat fish. He's meant to be a giant eel. If that wasn't obvious from the fabulous 3D model. So we know exactly what this is going to do. We're going to go up and get our medallion. That means the dungeon is complete. I should have put something secret down there. Like loads of coins, and if you carry on moving you get the reward in that sense. Right, so do I have enough for the hero's sword? Can't remember if it was 300 or 350. Oh, it's 250, okay. Right, so we now have a much cooler sword for the dungeon. It doesn't do anything better per se, it's just much cooler. And it means that you're not... So at the start it's explained that you're borrowing the sword from the dungeon guide, but in this now, it's now your own sword, so it just feels much cooler. So over here we can see that the guard is still standing there. The bridge hasn't been built yet, so we still can't go that way. So instead we're going to go over here and talk to this guy, who's going to explain to us some of the troubles he's been having. He can't run quickly enough to chase down these girls who have been raiding the armory and just causing havoc, really. It's not very nice, so we've got to go and find them. One's over here, and they'll know all about who you are because they've overheard the talking, so finding them is enough to scare them. Now, I obviously am making this look super easy because I know where they all are, but I've had people play this and it has taken them a reasonable amount of time. They were looking in like houses and stuff, which is ideally, I don't want you to just be like, oh, there she is, there she is, there she is. Like, I want you to struggle to find. Like, I had people trying to get past here, all sorts. Someone even asked me if one of them was in the first dungeon, but obviously they found that they couldn't go back in there. So we've done these three now. Should have put one like as the should have removed this angel statue and then put one of them there, see if people realise. And here we go, they've been rounded up, and that's his shift finished. Not that he actually did anything. There he goes. So we're now in this sort of... So this is quite nice and rewarding. You've done 3 dungeons. This is the final dungeon that I have designed. It's not the final dungeon in the game, but it kind of marks a sort of halfway point in the game, because with this dungeon here is the Venus dungeon, and well, there's something special about it that you'll find out at the end, so I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just quite rewarding to sort of unlock a new part of town. And you know, who knows, there may be some side quests here that involve, like, you know, it could be like cooking or the inn or something, because there's an inn here. It could be something to do with the wells, who knows. But let's carry on with the dungeon, because I could waffle on about this level all day. Right, let's head in. Now we're inside this nice dungeon here. So we're going to talk to this lovely, friendly looking guy here. Do not be frightened. Well, I am frightened. Okay. So a slightly different theme here. We have 3 rooms, and I'll tell you what each room does now. So this is the Mars room. That is the over there is the Earth room, and over there is the Jupiter room. And basically the Venus dungeon is going to be a sort of recap, in a sense, of what we've done so far. These are challenges that have been set up by this guy. So whatever torches are active, that is what room you need to go and do. Coin. Won't have enough to do glide, but you can see glide, and you can see a full range of the abilities in another video that's in this folder or on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Okay, so here straight away we're going to look up, because we've got a funny thing on the floor. We can't do anything with it yet, but there's something up there that I have no idea what it might do yet. But I know that I want to get there, so let's climb up. Ooh. Got that. This coin, and we're going to shrink down. Oh, there we go. Now as seen in the Earth dungeon, we had a puzzle there, but this is much harder. There are spiders on this puzzle, and if you get near those spiders, they will knock you off, and then you'll get devoured by the rat below. So no pressure. If you fall, the only way to get back up is to get eaten by the rat, but he'll be onto you pretty quickly, so we're just going to wait for this one to pass. There he goes. There we go. You have to be semi-quick here. It's like, I quite like this puzzle from a design's point of view, because obviously you're encouraged to take your time with... I'm going to be quite close. You're encouraged to take your time with this, but you can't take too much time with the spiders rushing around. And he's coming. He's coming. Okay. That seems like we're not going to get... Ooh. Thought I was going to fall then when I... Okay. I'm going to get this key. What am I talking about? As you can see here, that activated a trap. Now there is a trap in each section of the game. So that trap had fire come. Luckily, we weren't on that web, so it managed to burn down the web and obviously killed everything on it. So we can go downstairs. We don't have to worry about any of that. But yeah, there are traps in each of the dungeons. I will point out the trap when we get to it if it's not obvious. Some of the traps are like, they're not all negative things. Let's kill this enemy, open this door, and we'll be in a nice room here with fire on the floor. Obviously don't get... So this dungeon is obviously a lot tougher with all the other mechanics. I just got up the stairs off screen because I was having a moment where I just kept falling into the fire. It's funny how the first time that I stopped recording, I was successful. But anyway, let's move on. So we get up to this platform here, and wonderful, we're up to this magma cannon. So we're going to use our Mars ability on this magma cannon. It's going to react, and it's going to push the fire down, and it's going to blow that up. So this, obviously, our fire ability only works on a sort of X and Y axis, whereas this enables it to go into the more 3D. We're going to drop down, and we're going to go through the hole, push, get the first piece of dungeon. I don't know why I went push. And then we're going to take this portal out of here. Now, green portals you can use, red portals are inactive. So we've got one so far. We're going to take this next way here, which is the Earth dungeon. Obviously, it's going in order. And we've got some delicious-looking poison water and some leaves. So we know what's going to happen here. But we can use our ability to get over very, very quickly. And again here, quickly. Now this is the next trap. It's drained all of the water, and that has revealed nasties in the depths below. So we jump down, kill this apparently. Kill. There's nothing this way, I'm pretty sure. So we can go here. There are some sticks on the ground. We're going to skip this one for now. We're going to head into this room. Use our ability here. And voila, we have another mushroom that we can jump up on. Get up to the nice blue gem. We've got a giant web here that we can use our ability on. Lots of rewards in this room for people who are thorough with the game, and we can, especially now, you can't make that with the standard jump, as I've shown there. So you need this ability. So if you've got that ability, you can get more. But if you haven't, then well, you should have bought it because it's quite cheap. So we're back here at these sticks here. So we can use this ability. We're going to jump up, and we're going to get to the next level. And again, if you're thorough, there's lots of extra lives over there. So we're just going to jump across. I don't think I'm going to need them, but I can't see myself dying 12 times. There we go, and that section is complete. So now we're going to go to the Jupiter bit. There are lots of portals for us to take initially. I wanted to weave in this portal mechanic because it's something that I developed quite late on, but it was something that I thought could be really cool later on in another dungeon. But I just wanted to use it a little bit here. because I'd already designed it, so I thought I could weave the Jupiter stuff in with it. Let's get that and take this one. We've still got the conduits. So these conduits are basically, think of them as those things you get on train tracks, which will change the way the track goes. I can't think of the word, but so it will change the way the portal goes. I'll go through here. Got another enemy. I can go through here. Activate this. Boom. Lovely coin down here. Let's get that delicious coin. And that fan will essentially have enough force behind it to blast you over to the other side. Well, not blast, but you know what I mean. So we've got the 3 gems, that's good. We can take this portal, and obviously we're back here. We changed the train tracks for us to be able to go into this portal and be in a room here with some more fans. They won't really do anything. And now we've got this portal here that we can take, but we'd have to go all the way back around. So we're going to take this up here, and now we've got this. But obviously we can't go back because there is that fan that's just going to propel us upwards again. So we're going to have to carry on up here. There we go. Oh. 1 second, let me just see if that was actually... Oh well. There we go. We've got the extra life and the coin. We can jump back down, and we've no need to take that again, so we can go through the portal. And just like that, oh, we have 14 out of 15 lives. That's a shame. So we've got enough of his chalices for him, so we can give them to him, and he's going to give us our next ability, which is the Venus ability. It will allow us to conjure up a meteorite that will fall down and break things like this. So obviously we've got a little bit of foreshadowing of that with the magma cannon. Here we go, nice portal, and it's just gonna get this meteor to destroy areas like this. We're gonna go down, and actually we're gonna find out that we cannot complete this dungeon yet. This was the twist that I was talking about before. You have to beat the next 3 dungeons, and then you get 3 challenges based on those dungeons. Do that Venus dungeon, do the second part of the Venus dungeon again, then you do the final dungeon. Now, obviously I haven't designed these next bits, but I just want to walk through a little bit. We don't need to buy any ability now. It would have been nice to have the glide just to show you like all in this video, but as I say, you can see it in another video that I've uploaded. So here's this lovely bridge that has been built. All that stone has been put to good use. But poor guy, who doesn't get any rest, is working on getting rid of this giant rock, which is blocking this way. Unfortunately, we can't get past. But if we move up here, this is another part of the town, which is this part of the town is fully deserted, apart from the dungeon guardians, obviously. We have this dungeon here that I haven't built in Unreal yet, but I did come up with concepts for it. And with this dungeon, you get so far within the dungeon, nearly complete it, you're about to get the medallion, but then the ice will break because this is built around Uranus, so there's lots of ice. The ice will break and you'll fall, similar to how you did in the Earth dungeon. And as you can see over here, there's no way to get to the Neptune dungeon, but you will fall into the Neptune dungeon. So then you complete the Neptune dungeon, and then once you've got the ability from the Neptune dungeon, you can use it in tandem with the ability in this dungeon, and that will help you essentially conjure the water, freeze the water, then you can walk on the ice to be able to get the medallion in this dungeon. I haven't come up with concepts for any of the other dungeons, unfortunately. Over here is the other areas that I haven't, let's just say I haven't finalised. I've put the assets in, I've let's just go through and I can show you. We'll go through the rock. Lovely. I spent a little bit of time doing this, but not a great deal, because obviously it's not going to be implemented in part of the game. So it's lots of trees here. There's a graveyard. I was going to put sort of various things on the headstones as like, I don't know, references to other games or something. Here we are in this lovely massive bit. There's going to be side quests and stuff. Obviously, this here hasn't been set up at all with a guardian. Sorry, with a guard. This will be the Mercury dungeon. The Mercury dungeon, you are able to lift huge rocks like the rock we saw over there, and depending on the situation you can break them, throw them, use the small parts to do other things. And now we're going to walk over to the Saturn dungeon. Again, you wouldn't just be walking like this. This isn't finalized. You go over to the Saturn dungeon. The power in the Saturn dungeon essentially lets you knock things over that are very far away, creates shockwaves and stuff. There are lots of interesting ways that we can use that. You can see those videos in the same folder that I submitted these videos of just showing that in action, because I did implement all of these abilities before I designed any of the levels. So that's everything that I have designed, that I have shown you. I hope you have enjoyed my project. I did work extremely hard on it. My only regret is that this is where you get your next lot of abilities. I haven't implemented them yet, but yeah, I have worked extremely hard on this, and my only regret is that I wasn't able to finish it, but hopefully one day I will be able to just completely finish it in my spare time. Thank you very much for watching.